On today's very, very important show, and specifically a crossover wild card preview show, Padres Cubs, one of your hosts, Javier Reyes, the other one, Sam Olbur of Locked On Cubs. We're going to talk about all of the biggest strengths and weaknesses for both teams and give a serious prediction. It's playoff time, man. Let's go.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of not just the Locked On Padres, but also the Locked On Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for Tuesday, September 30th. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Javier Reyes, sometimes a host with the most. And you might be familiar with some of my baseball-related work for the last 6 years or so. I've been covering not this team, not just for this podcast, but also various other outlets, including justbaseball.com, chief among them. You can leave your comments in the comment description of the show, or if you want to follow me on Twitter/X or Blue Sky. Even though I'm not active on there at the moment, still, when I come back, I'd love to hear from you guys at Javipeno, Javiiipeno. And today is a crossover spectacular. Sam Olbur is joining me today in studio. I just like saying that. I know it's not literally in studio, but in studio, one of the hosts of Locked On Cubs, man. How are you doing on this wonderful Tuesday morning to talk some playoff baseball?
Yeah, man, I'm doing good. Excited, nervous. I've never covered a playoff series before.
Wow.
I know you have. Last time the Cubs were in the playoffs was 2020. Didn't have the show back then. So, yeah, nervous as a fan. Not really nervous as a podcaster. I feel like that will be pretty straightforward. But exciting times, man. Exciting times.
Absolutely. In today's episode, guys, we're going to preview the series. Just talk about, what you would expect us to talk about in a lot of ways. Biggest strengths and weaknesses for both teams, and talk about a little bit of prediction. Some surprising insights to be had for sure. But look, man, this has been what was projected for a while. So I feel like, unlike other hosts, we aren't as shocked about what the matchup is, right? With the poor Reds. Shout out Jeff Carr, manager of the MLB channel. Like, he didn't even know if he would be in the playoffs until literally yesterday. So that's really cool. But let's get into it, man. Biggest strengths. Let's just start with that topic of the Chicago Cubs team. A team that, no, everybody, this is not the 2015 team. Things have changed very, very much. Not just from 2015, but even back in 21 and 20 when they made all those big trades. What can you tell us about what Padres fans and baseball fans alike should be looking to when it comes to the big stuff?
Yeah, it's a lot different than the 16 team that won it all, or the 15 team that went real far. First of all, I'll say this before I get into the strengths. I actually, on FanDuel, I thought the Padres were going to win the West. So I was pretty not early in the year, but right around the beginning of the second half. So, I think highly of the Padres. I like the Padres. Just want to put that out there. As far as the Cubs go, it's really hard to say what their biggest strengths and weaknesses are, because they kind of go back and forth. In April and May, at one point, they had the best record in baseball, and along with that, they had the best offense in baseball. It was led by Kyle Tucker, Pete Crow Armstrong. It was supplemented by Michael Busch and Seiya Suzuki. As the season went, those guys started to fade, particularly Tucker, who was playing with a little bit of an injury, and Pete Crow Armstrong, who at the All-Star break was right there in the MVP conversation, and then his second half just totally plummeted. And then their starting pitching, which was looked at as a weakness, especially when they lost Justin Steele for the season. Cade Horton, their rookie phenom, who's probably going to win Rookie of the Year, really carried the mantle in the second half. And so I guess to answer your question, in the first half of the season, for the most part, their offense was their strength. In the second half of the season, it shifted to pitching. And just lately, the last week or two, they're finally starting to see some signs from guys like Suzuki, and Busch has been real hot for them to hit again. So I guess there isn't really a definitive answer. Their bullpen has been pretty steady. If I had to say, to answer the question, if the Cubs are going to win, I think their biggest strength, they're going to have to score some runs and hit some home runs and have their big boppers hit. How about, from a distance, I would say the Padres' biggest strength feels like the back end of their bullpen. But what say you?
No, man, you're 100% right. There isn't like a lot of
Yeah.
it's not ambiguous whatsoever. The Padres,
Yeah.
their biggest strength. And while they have had their ups and downs, similar to the Cubs, similar to every team, it's been bullpen basically all year. Back when they, heading into season, no Joe Musgrove. Heading into the season, we're worried about Yu Darvish's health. He doesn't come back for a while. You have Michael King, who exits early on. And then you have Dylan Cease, who, while usually a good pitcher, was pretty disastrous this year and only started recently showing decent signs, not even strong signs, but just decent signs. And it was the bullpen that kept them in. Jeremiah Estrada, David Morgan, who they just plucked up out of nowhere. Robert Suarez has been good for a few years. Mason Miller, the big trade at the deadline. And then even Jason Adam, who unfortunately went down, right? There's so many guys. Adrian Morejon, one of the most valuable relievers in the sport this year.
Didn't he win like 13? How many games did Morejon win out of the bullpen? I've never seen it.
Oh, yeah. I was actually just about to look that up. He had so many wins this year, and it's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
That's not what usually used to from a bullpen guy.
Yeah, Jeremiah Estrada, former Cub, didn't work out here, and he's been. How many did he win?
13 games. He's like a starter's record, 13-6. Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, Estrada, former Cub, didn't work out here. Jason Adam, former Cub, so that stings a little bit. So starters wise, tell me why. So Michael King not scheduled to start.
Right.
Going into the year, that was probably the guy I thought was your best pitcher. I don't know.
No, that'd be right.
Yeah.
That'd be right.
Okay. So what's going on with him?
So it's interesting. According to AJ Cassavell, who posted this right before we started recording, it's set to be Nick Pivetta game one. He's been the main guy all year. He was one of the best signings in the offseason. He's been great. And then, surprisingly, Dylan Cease is expected to go game two. Now, you would think that's not a surprise, but he has been like the LVP for the Padres this year. Contract year, all the injuries that I talked about before. For him to go out and just be this guy who every time you get to the fourth inning, he's getting completely destroyed. He might in game two. Do not be discouraged, Sam. If he has through 3 2 2/3 5 Ks, and you're like, oh no, like this is the strike. Do not fear that, because he has consistently this year blown up later on in his starts. It's actually been pretty maddening.
Can I give you a Dylan Cease counter?
Go for it.
Here are the Cubs guys currently on their team. Their slash line against Dylan Cease in their career. 194, 269, 327 for a 595 OPS. Nobody, the only guy that has any remote success against him in his career is Tucker.
Well, you know what? That might explain why Mike Schultz decided to start him in game two. You know what? You figured it out, because I know a lot of Padres fans are like, wow,
Dylan Cease is really always, again, by the way, Dylan Cease, another former Cub, just never made it to the bigs with the Cubs. They traded him for Jose Quintana with the White Sox. So a lot of connections here with your guys and our guys. So
yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Drew Pomeranz, another one. We love him very much, but he's over there in Chicago having a nice little career revitalization. But we're going to talk about a little bit more strengths and especially the weaknesses, which is where I believe the Padres have a little bit of a disadvantage. But first, let me talk to you guys about some of our sponsors. And one of those sponsors is our good friends over at Nutrafol. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth supplements and thought, you know what? Yeah, whatever, man. Like that just, I doubt it. Like that actually works. There's so many out there that it's understandable. It's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. It is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And now Nutrafol is the official hair growth partner of Major League Baseball. You can feel great about what you're putting into your body, since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF content certified, the gold standard and third-party certification for supplements. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months. And for a limited time, because you're listening to this show, because we love that you're here so much, I'm giving you an offer you will not be able to refuse. Nutrafol, $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Remember, that's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Go and check it out. And just like that, everybody back into segment 2, Thriving Vibe here with my guy Sam Olbur of Locked On Cubs, talking about the strengths and weaknesses of both teams. I'll tell you one weakness though, Sam, for the Cubs. You don't even have to say it yet. And that is the Pope didn't choose your team. Turns out the Pope was not a Cubbies guy. So that is one weakness. So Padres fans, even though I might be getting negative in this segment, a little foreshadowing there, I must say that might be on our side. But look, man, I think that with this series, it's really kind of interesting to look at the position that the Cubs are in, where, like you said, a mammoth offense lit up Nick Pivetta in his second start actually of the year back in, what was that, March? Back in March, like really did well against him.
Right.
You talked about the Dylan Cease numbers. I think another storyline for this series will be how much of a quick pull will the Padres starters have, right? If Nick Pivetta goes out and is not very good, will they throw in Michael King, who is apparently someone that they might want to utilize in a bullpen role, which might freak everybody out. But considering he just came back from injury, he's had injuries a lot this year. And also, he's done wonders previously with the team that the Padres traded with, the Yankees. That's where he first broke out, where he had a sub-3 ERA. He had a 28% strikeout rate. He was awesome in like the last 2 years before he left to the Padres, right? So that weapon out of the bullpen, I think that might be what they're thinking actually for game 2. That's my theory. I think they're saying, you know what? If it's the usual Dylan Cease, who not only has just not been good in the playoffs in his entire career, but has been very bad for the Padres this year, I could see a world in which they're like, let's have King go 2-3 innings, and then they use the bullpen. Yeah. And then game 3, that becomes interesting too. But it all depends on game 1. That's the other thing about this is previewing these starters and stuff. It all depends. It's all hands on deck. The Cubs could throw in like anybody if things go wrong or go right? Like they might just be like, you know what? Game 2, we're already a game up. We're going to throw our best guys from the 4th inning onwards, right? Like that could totally happen.
Yeah. For the Cubs, man, like right now, the big question in Cubs land, and it just got announced about an hour ago, Matthew Boyd's going to start game 1. There were some real murmurs about an opener instead, just because Boyd and Imanaga have really struggled. Their overall numbers look good. Matthew Boyd in the second half, particularly in the months of August and September, just hasn't been good. Shota Imanaga had his worst month as a Cub in the month of September. So going into it, those guys are going to start, and then most likely in a perfect world, if there's a game 3, would be Tyone. But there's a lot of concern. I personally have confidence in both those guys. I believe in their mindset and their competitiveness, because sometimes that's what this comes down to, is you can kind of throw away the analytics a little bit, right? Analytics, in my opinion, are more meant to, over the course of 162, let's see what happens. This is just one moment in time, one game where you execute. And I believe in those guys, but they've struggled. Imanaga's last outing against the Mets, he gave up 8 earned runs. So Matthew Boyd was a firm top 5 Cy Young candidate guy entering the month of September. That is gone now. So we'll see. I was actually ironically at the game when Boyd and Pivetta matched up in April, a long time ago. That one went well for the Cubs. And then if I remember correctly, I think Pivetta pitched really well against the Cubs in San Diego. And Boyd's faced them twice and pitched well. So we'll see. I just think, my question for you about the Padres, the one thing that I felt optimistic about is I don't think they're as good, at least statistically, as good against lefties as they are righties. What are they going to do? So like with O'Hearn and Sheets, because the main platoon guy was Laureano. He's out, right? Yeah. So
yes, he is out.
Are they just going to start one of those guys and just bat him? Like, is O'Hearn going to play? That's my first question. Even with
O'Hearn is probably going to play. I think that another little storyline for the Padres, you were mentioning the pitching has not been as good for the Cubs. The Padres offense has been a weakness this year. It's been a little bit stars and scrubs, right? Like that's been kind of how they've built their offense, frankly, for the past few years. But lately, it has caught on. Fernando Tatis Jr. slugged a lot in the month of September, similar to what he had done when he looked like the MVP back in the first month of the season. Ryan O'Hearn drawing walks, getting hits. You've got Luis Arraez hitting 350 in the month of September. So they have a lot of spice as of late. However, what you said is true. When it comes to lefties this year, the Padres rank 19th in baseball in OPS against lefties. And if you want to get more advanced, WRC plus, not much better. They are 17th, right? Now, granted, this is not an incredible offense to begin with, so I don't want to act like it is like a disastrous split, because in general, they are middle to below average offensively as a whole. So
Well,
yes, worst against lefties for sure.
Too.
Yeah. Like the lefty thing played a big part. Tatis struggled against lefties, specifically on the top part of the zone, which he started to do better as the season went along. But I also want to mention, like, as you bring up like the analytics thing, for a short series like this, all that goes out the window. The Padres have a lot of experience. They have Kyle Tucker over in Chicago. I'm sure they've got some other guys, but for them, Tatis literally could just go out and do what he did last year, which was be a 1,500 OPS guy in the postseason, carrying them past the Braves, almost past the Dodgers by himself. That could happen. Manny Machado is a guy who hasn't been very good in the postseason, so that also would counteract my point. But I just think overall, we've basically almost covered it all, to be honest with you. I think that this is going to be a series that's just...
It feels like a coin flip. I mean,
everywhere.
I know we're going to get to predictions probably in the next segment. I'll just say this. If the series was in San Diego, I don't think the Cubs would have much. I think the Cubs probably get swept. That's what I'll say. I think it was really significant for the Cubs to play at Wrigley. Schilt was talking about how tricky Wrigley can be. I think it's a hard place to play if you don't play there a lot. There's going to be major sun shade stuff going on because typically we start games during the day about 1:20 local time. So this is going to start at 2:08 local time. And so typically in those 1:20 local starts, right around the 7th, 8th inning in the fall, that's where you start to see problems with that stuff. Now you're going to probably see it in the 5th, 6th inning. You're going to see a lot of shade. That's why it's so imperative, in my opinion, for the Cubs to get out ahead. Because imagine having to face Mason Miller and Suarez when you can't see really well, when the mound's in the sun and the plate is in the shade. But I think that cork, the home field advantage cork, was imperative for the Cubs. I can't remember. I mean, I think the Cubs lost 2 out of 3 in San Diego this year. It just doesn't typically go well for the Cubs out there.
They did,
yeah. So I thought it was really important for the Cubs to get home field in the 3-game series. And for me, I think the Padres could win the World Series. Like I think that highly of their roster. Now, granted, I haven't, watched a ton of their pitching. Like I didn't realize Michael King wasn't even pitching or whatnot. People don't realize they were, within one Yamamoto gem away from going past the Dodgers last year.
24.
They destroyed the Braves at home. I think they have one of the best home crowds in baseball. So it was really important for the Cubs to get this at Wrigley, which they did. I think that really gives them and makes this a coin flip type of series.
I could not agree more. I think that I forget to always pay attention to these things, specifically because I feel like in sports, we've just seen the home field advantage thing not always matter as much as you would think. But there's something about this series not being behind their fan base, which, by the way, I mentioned this on yesterday's show, another attendance record for their franchise history. I just think more of a pitcher's ballpark. It's a team that but it is a team that's about run prevention, get a couple hits from Tatis, get some from Merrill or whatever, get like 3 runs, and then just have the bullpen shut guys down. So I do agree, in Chicago, that fan base is hungry and is going to be rabid probably for sure. I think it's tough, man, but it really feels like if Pivetta doesn't show up, which is very possible. This has been a very good pitcher this year, one of the best signs of the offseason, but he can be prone to the long ball. Not as much this year, but part of that is because he's been in Petco. So the Cubs, it would not shock me if they get behind early. But at the same time, does this offense for the Padres, will it just be a classic case of, well, they have Tatis and Merrill, and that's what mattered? Or will it just be like the Cubs, well, you know what? Maybe we underestimated their starting pitching. It's a lot of guys that we're not familiar with. It could go either way. You could go back to the Yankees with their ace and Luis Severino, came into the playoffs, was bad, right? Disastrous. And you could also find guys like Michael King last year, making his start in the playoffs, shuts down the Braves, gets 10 Ks, right? That's the big question here. Is a guy like Imanaga ready for a moment like this? Is a guy like Cade Horton ready for a moment like this?
Luckily for you, you don't have to worry about Cade Horton.
Yeah. We'll have to see, man, how it all plays out. And we'll give our official predictions in the next segment. But first, speaking of predictions, an app that you go to when you want to make predictions of your own, that is FanDuel, folks. The NFL season is here, in case you missed it, if you've been living under a rock. And FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5 and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. And just like that, everybody, we are into the final segment, the segment you've all been waiting for, dare I say, by all, maybe some of you. I don't really know, honestly. I don't know about your listeners either. Maybe they don't care about this part. But it's prediction time, Sam, of Locked On Cubs. I'm Javier of Locked On Padres. Whew. All right, I'm just going to say it. I think the Cubs take this in 3. I have been very not down on the Padres, and I will say that I was a lot more cynical about them a few weeks ago. With Jackson Merrill being a 900 OPS guy, with Tatis being Tatis, with Manny Machado, maybe it's a classic, he's been so bad in the playoffs for the majority of his career. Maybe he's finally going to be good, right? Yeah. And then you still got a guy like Arraez, who's been hitting a lot better lately. He could be a pest at the top of the order when he's in the mood. Ryan O'Hearn could be really solid. Gavin Sheets, not as disastrous against lefties as he usually is in his career, so that might be an advantage as well. But for me, it's being at Wrigley. It's the fact that I just don't think the Padres can trust their rotation. I think if Michael King was healthy, it's a slightly different story. And Yu Darvish, career in the playoffs, he is a guy. And it says a lot that Schultz, I don't care what the numbers say. I don't care he's been a little bit messy this year. I don't care. This is Yu Darvish, and I trust him.
One of his best outings of all time was, I think, 2017 NLCS at Wrigley.
Was it really?
Yeah. He eliminated the Cubs with the Dodgers, or maybe it was a game 4. It was he shut him out. I remember it pretty well.
Then there you go. That could very well happen. But to me, this has just been a team that, I don't know what happens if Nick Pivetta doesn't go and tosses 4 or 5, right? I just see this lineup with Seiya Suzuki, with your Michael Busch, with your Pico Armstrong, who maybe doesn't have a big playoffs because, in fairness, I don't know how much his offensive stats will carry over. And I just wonder with defense in the playoffs, I don't know. Ever since the Nick Castellanos making full diving catches, I've been are we sure defense matters? I don't know. I think it matters for 162, but sometimes I'm you know what?
I agree. I agree with you. And I think Pete's defense is actually just far worse at Wrigley because it's just smaller. You just don't have a lot of stuff to cover, so it's less impactful. So you say Cubs in 3?
Yeah, I say Cubs in 3. I think it's so easy to say this. It's classic podcasts are
it's a coin flip. It's a toss up.
It really is though.
If you woke me up on Thursday morning and said the Padres came in here and rolled the Cubs 7-1, 8-3, I wouldn't be shocked. If you told me the Cubs did the same, I'd be a little bit more surprised, but I wouldn't be super surprised. And if you told me it comes down to the bottom of the 10th in Game 3 on Thursday, I wouldn't be surprised. It really has all the outcomes. I think I want to start this. I think the Padres have a better team. I think the Padres have a better team from one to the last guy, but I don't think that matters in a 3-game series when it's this close. I think this defines it's so crazy. We cover these games for 162 and the whole series, because really I think it's a little different, and I could be wrong because I don't want to speak for the Padres. I feel like the Padres have bigger, I don't want to say aspirations, but if the Padres were
expectations,
if the Padres were to win this series and then lose to the Dodgers in the NLCS, let's say they win this series, get past the Brewers, I still think their fans wouldn't be thrilled. Do you know what I mean? Because the goal is to finally get over that Dodger mountain at some point. For the Cubs, if they were to find a way to win this series and beat Milwaukee, it's a smashing success, regardless of what would happen in the NLCS, even though the goal is to win championships. And just by the way the Cubs are talking and the guys, I just think they find a way to get it done. That's I really don't have a lean. I'm just going off of just listening and finding a way. I think the Cubs find a way to get it done at Wrigley Field in 3. And that doesn't mean that they're a better team than the Padres.
No, absolutely not. And I think that with the Cubs, it feels like to get on that with the expectations, Cubs feel like they're in the second year of, okay, the first year you bring in Dansby Swanson, we made a couple moves. Like that's when you make a move like that, it's like, okay, cool. This is great. We're not the A's, we're not the Brewers, we're not the Guardians. We actually care about like winning, which is something that not a lot of teams in this sport care about, right?
True.
That was year one. Then year two, a lot better. You go for Kyle Tucker. And I still remember some people were a little bit like, the Cubs, you're pushing too many chips in. They do that. He's great. Going to be curious to see how that turns out in the offseason.
Sure. Yeah.
For the Padres, they're on basically like year 6 of
right.
all these trades. You have all the fan attendance. You've become
they always
a national
go all
story,
in.
right? They go all in. While the Cubs, it's like, you know what? I like where we were this year. They definitely want to win this series. You'd like to see improvement, but it's like we improved this year. We're still the Cubs. We have some money that we can shell out. There's more of a future, right? While the Padres, it's like the fan base at some point is asking, we're a lot of flash, and they've had big moments. They made the NLCS, against the Phillies back in 2022, right? And then they made it to what felt like, and according to the Dodgers, was the NLCS last year in 2024, right? It just feels like, man, you do all that stuff at the deadline. The big article over The Athletic on AJ Preller's habits and what a sicko weird alien he is, dropped the other day that everybody should go check out. With all of that, it just feels like, wow, you just win 90 games and get bounced around one. It feels like there's be some expectations there. AJ Preller's contract is not extended after next year. So it could be a series that just means more for the Padres in terms of if they lose, the fallout could be a lot major.
Yeah, I think to me, both teams are missing a key starter with King available out of the bullpen, Horton not being available. But I think the big loss is Laureano. With the Cubs, the Cubs starting 2 lefties most likely, and him being, I don't know what his numbers this year against lefties, but I know historically he mashes lefties.
Yeah.
That just feels like a really big story in this series, those first 2 games, and I think that in a series that could just come down to a coin flip, a big at bat going to O'Hearn or Sheets or whoever it is versus him, makes me feel a little bit more comfortable.
And I don't think the Cubs bullpen is terrible.
No, the Cubs bullpen is not bad.
11th.
Yeah.
They're 11th in Major League Baseball. Yeah. So it's an advantage for the Padres.
Yeah.
But is it one that I'm like, I know that if we just get to that bullpen, like we're golden. You know what I mean? Like
there's
the Mets,
3 guys.
Like
Keller, Kittredge, Thielbar. Thielbar is the lefty. The other 2 are righties. Those are their main 3 that are at the back end of it. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited, man. I wish you guys the best of luck. No hard feelings towards the Padres. It's
none whatsoever.
Not the Brewers. It's not the Cardinals. Now, if the Cubs get by and I do a crossover with Chuck from Locked On Brewers, it's going to be a little bit less friendly than this.
Oh, absolutely. And I hope you're less friendly because I hate the Brewers. And if the Padres want to win, I would gladly every day of the year face the Brewers. You know why? Because history tells us you're not going to win the World Series when you don't spend money. That's just as simple as that. Last 32 seasons, there's only been 3 that were outside just the top half. The top half. Sam, that's it. And also, awesome. 2003 was the last time someone won in the bottom 10 of payroll. So, like,
not a great year to think about for me.
Don't let everyone convince you that the Brewers are more impressive than the Dodgers or anything like that. It's not. They're going to lose. But anyway, Sam, it's been a blast. I got to get my Brewers hater-rated there at some point.
Hey, you got the right
yeah,
right guess, man.
I have you on for this, so it's perfect. Yeah. But my prediction, Cubs in 3, you as well. Again, it should be a lot of fun. An afternoon series, which the Padres haven't had in a little wrinkle for Padres fans.
Yeah, like since 1984 when they played at Wrigley.
Exactly. Like they're not used to any playoff series being this early. So it should be a lot of fun, man. Can't wait to see it. Everybody check out Locked On Cubs as well with Sam. And Matt, go check that out. Going to be a great show. We'll be doing lives as well, post-game, post-cast stuff and episodes, maybe potentially with some friends over at CBS8. We'll see. But whatever alliance you are in, until next time, stay safe. And of course, stay faithful, my Fire Faithful homies. And stay, what's a good C word that's positive for Cubs?
Calm.
Calm.
Yeah, that's what I need to do.
All right. I like that. Stay faithful, Fire Faithful, and stay calm, you Cubs, lovely opponents of ours. Until next time, stay golden and stay enjoying baseball.